I'm Dak Shepard, and this is the Armchair Expert. Today we have a very exciting guest, and someone I've kind of admired, looked up to from afar. I ended up kind of stalking him on Twitter, and then we became chummy, and he came by the attic, and it was by far one of the most stimulating guests we've had. Do you agree, Monica?
The most, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's quite an episode.
Talib is incredibly smart. He certainly bested me on many a point. And I just want to say, going into this episode, I try to stay out of politics, not because I'm not political or don't have opinions, but I just feel like there's tons of outlets. There's a million places you could go to hear political opinions, and this is just kind of I try to keep it a sanctuary away from that. With that said, it would be absolutely shameful to have Talib on, who is a social activist, and not get into some of these causes that he cares deeply about. And I do want to say, I had a fear because I ended up, as you'll hear, I end up taking someone's position on an argument that's actually not my position per se. And I was quite nervous that I maybe said stuff that I was going to regret. And then Monica and I really hemmed and hawed over it. And what we ultimately did is left it all in. And so what I'm not good at doing, and what Monica's always pointing out to me I need to do, is I think it goes without saying that I believe certain things. And in fact, it doesn't go without saying. So as we enter into the portion of the podcast, when we get into Charles Murray, who was a guest on Sam Harris talking about his controversial book, The Bell Curve, I kind of ended up taking a position of, I don't even want to say defending, whatever, you'll hear it. The point is after debating Talib in this episode, and it gave me pause, and I thought, am I on the wrong side of this? I need to investigate further. And then, as luck would have it, the episode that's under fire, there was a follow-up episode on Sam Harris where he had Ezra Klein on, and then when I heard Ezra Klein's point of view, I have to say I have reversed my position on it. So I just want to acknowledge that my opinion has been changed by both Talib and Ezra, and I think as I was educated more on who Charles Murray is, I don't think I could make the statement he's not a racist the way I did in the episode you're about to hear. All that to say, just gigantic high five to Qual for coming in and really educating us.
And it's important to note that these are all opinions based on personal truths and facts. And so if you don't believe what he is saying as truth to yourself, that's fine.
Yep. I still love Sam. So, you'll hear Talib does not love Sam, and that's fine. And then the last listener warning I just want to give is we get into this debate about Charles Murray, and I go a long way before I say something that I thought would maybe be obvious, but I should have said it right at the beginning, and I just want to say it right at the beginning of this, that I do not think there is a single variation among racial groups on intelligence. I don't think any group is more or less intelligent than another. You'll hear me say that, but it took me a while before I threw that in there. So I don't want you to be listening thinking, oh boy, what is he suggesting? Because I was not suggesting that. Ultimately, the reason that all this stuff was left in, because I think the much bigger message that we wanted to send wasn't the particulars of these debates, but the bigger, more important message in my mind is, listen to two guys who are on opposite sides of the road talk with respect and love to one another and have a differing opinion and get up and hug each other. And I just want that to be an example of, it's just plenty fine for all of us to disagree, and we can still love each other and not feel like us and them. So big setup. I hope you enjoy Talib Kweli. This episode is brought to you by Ring. Monica, you just moved into a new apartment, and there's a lot of new people around you, and you're a little bit nervous. You don't know who's who yet, right?
Yeah.
And you use Ring.
I do, and I feel so much safer.
Yeah, because you can check in with what's going on out in the hall. And
it's a video
behind your house,
doorbell.
there's a sidewalk. I'd want to keep my eye on that.
There's a lot of surface area to cover.
Yes.
And the video doorbell, and it's a security camera, so you can see. And
you can talk through it. It's two-way audio, which is amazing. I have it, and let me tell you why I love it. I about once a week am convinced I hear something in our yard.
Yep.
And then I get out of bed and I go into full defense mode. I'm going to fend off our house and protect everyone, there's never anything in the yard, Monica.
I know.
Occasionally there's a raccoon. So now that I have Ring and I have the motion activated floodlights, which are awesome, so I actually can just see from my bed if there's anything going on outside. So as much as it could protect you from a real dangerous situation, for me, it's really just helping me deal with my
Paranoia.
Paranoia, thank you. But needless to say, it's super duper easy to set up. It works over Wi-Fi, so you can be anywhere in the world. You could be in Tokyo, Japan.
I hope you are.
And if you get a surprise visitor or someone dropping off a package, you can actually communicate with them. And as a listener, you have a special offer on a Ring starter kit available right now with a video doorbell and motion-activated floodlight cam. The starter kit has everything you need to start building a ring of security around your home. Just go to ring.com/DAX. That's ring.com/DAX.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Talib, welcome to Armchair Expert.
Thank you. That's a great name. I see you in the armchair. You look like an expert.
Yeah.
It's like a podcast about armchairs.
Specifically, I'm a know-it-all, and I make a lot of huge generalizations, but I don't go do any research. I don't gather data. I'm an armchair expert.
That sounds like the internet.
Yeah. I think this generation would really respond to what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I've been a fan of yours for a long time, and I just hit the jackpot because you happen to be in town. You don't live here. You live in New York.
I do.
Yeah. So I went and saw you Saturday. No, it felt like Saturday night for me because I have kids.
Yeah.
I saw you on Wednesday night.
It was like adult Saturday night.
I'm still fucked up from that because I go to bed at 10 o'clock every night.
Oh, man.
And I was at your show, and I was loving it, and then I was also glancing at my watch like, ooh,
Yes.
midnight.
I'm at the age where when I go on after 10, my Twitter feed is filled with people saying, "Hey, where are you at? I gotta pay the babysitter." It's like,
Yeah. You two are all year round, right?
yeah, I tour a lot.
Like how many days a year?
200, 250 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a year. I'm trying to slow that down, but that's definitely my bread and butter. That's what I do.
Right.
I'm a bluesman. I'm a live traveling musician.
Right. Your career's had so many different peaks and valleys and all this up and down, and there were probably times you loved touring. There's probably times you hated touring.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an acceptance phase where you just go like, oh, whatever, this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, that acceptance phase came a long time ago. I've had to embrace it. Touring, it can be very stressful and hectic. It destroys relationships in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So, you have to I have grown children who've grown up while I've toured.
Right.
And so it's like, I've had to be honest about what it is.
Yeah. And how often would they come?
My kids tour with me often.
Yeah.
My son, you just missed my son. My son is now at the age where it's like, he'll call me and like, I'm in Oakland. He's like, can I come to the show? I'm like, how did you get to Oakland?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when I was 21 years old, I was taking buses and across the country and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing now.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
Is it cool to watch?
It is. My kids they actually live in the apartment next door to me
Well, they do.
in New York.
Oh, good.
That's been about the last year or so.
Uh-huh.
I've been able to get closer to them and really get to know them as people. Because as a teenager, you're still trying to figure out which kind of person you are.
Oh, yeah.
So now that my daughter's 19, my son's 21. Now they are who they are.
Right.
So now I'm getting to know who that person is.
Yeah, and does the stress at all dissipate? Because when you're a parent, you're like, you put a lot of thought into, man, I hope this is what we got them on the right,
I'm a little stressed out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you have less control now, obviously.
yeah, but you know what it is? It's like, it's stressful to watch your children do exactly what you did that your parents told you not to do.
Yes.
So my parents told me not to drop out of college.
Yeah.
Both my kids did this.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
My son has a song where he talks about smoking weed. He's 21, I started smoking weed at 15.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, what am I supposed to say?
Also, there's a historical record of you.
Yeah.
You've lived out loud.
That's
so
right.
You can only lie so much.
That's right. And I can't, and you know what the crazy thing is that I just cannot, I gotta let them be who they are. My rule is I can't smoke weed with my son until he's paying his own rent.
Okay.
That's the rule.
Okay, I like it. So you just said your parents were concerned about you dropping out, and that's I would assume impacted a lot by the fact that your mother was a professor, right? Or is
And
or
my
was,
father.
and your father as well.
And now my brother, my younger
Right.
brother.
Your brother in like all-star fashion, right? He's a Columbia
Yeah,
constitutional law. Did
Yeah.
you say younger?
He's younger.
And is he just?
I had to learn how to. I went to his 40th birthday party,
Uh-huh.
and I made a speech about how I stopped calling him my little brother,
Yeah.
and he nodded in agreement, like yes.
yeah. And by the way, that happened a while ago before you admitted it.
Yeah.
So he's just crack smart.
He's like I'm like the beta of him.
Uh-huh.
I'm like the beta version. I was the test.
Yeah.
They got it right with him. I'm 2 years older than him.
Oh, you're 2 years
Yeah.
older. Okay, so now he's what, 43? Oh no, he's 41.
He's 40. I guess I'm 43. I don't know.
You are 43.
You know, I'm
and I
like
was
Don
still-
Draper. You know, I don't pay attention to birthdays.
Okay, yeah. Well, we're the same age.
Okay, that's how
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have this weird mental thing. If I've revered somebody, for whatever reason, just in my mind, they're older. So like when
That's
I was
interesting.
when I was reading your age, I was like, oh, that's weird. We were kids at the exact same time. You know, discovering stuff probably at very, same time in space.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because I definitely call my brother and ask him for advice like he's my older brother.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when did that start?
In high school,
Oh, in high school.
my brother was in Hunter College High School when I was dropping out, which was like the best high school you could go to. He would come downstairs to see me and my friends like smoke a weed in the basement. And he would just shake his head.
Uh-huh.
Like,
And he's just a crazy overachiever.
yeah, he's
He
just
went to
the best.
Yale?
He went to Harvard first.
Oh, Jesus.
Then he became a sports writer because I gave him my baseball cards. He like smashed that subject. He wrote for Sports Illustrated for a couple of years.
Really?
And then he decided that he was never going to be the best sports writer. So he went to Yale for law school,
Okay.
studied constitutional law, got out, started working for Justice Stevens. And when Justice Stevens retired, he was
On the
interviewed.
Supreme Court,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
I would see my brother on C-SPAN interviewing like, grilling congressmen and stuff. And now he works
Yeah.
at Columbia.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And your parents, they need to write a fucking book
Yeah.
because you're a all-star fucking hip-hop MC, and then the other son's a professor at Columbia.
Yeah,
They did some shit right.
They did good.
What did they do? What was the secret sauce?
I think education. I think their focus, like almost laser precision, like focus on education. We went to museums and libraries every weekend. We read in the house. There was books in the house.
Yeah.
I feel like if you don't have books in your living room, I can't trust you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw an episode of Cribs. You remember that show on MTV?
Yes, I do.
And I want to say it was either Moby. I think it was Moby, but basically the full tour of Cribs was just his bookshelf. He's like,
Yeah.
I've seen so many episodes of this show. I've never seen anyone with a bookshelf in their house. It's
Yeah.
very troubling to me.
Books are gonna be like, art.
Steam-powered cars.
Yeah, or it's gonna be like art that you hang up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, and in fact, I've seen there's an artist. I don't know if he's here in LA, but I know some people that have his art, and he does that. He makes these crazy kind of statue things out of books, old books.
Yeah.
and it has a gravitas to it. These books, it just there's something about it that has a weight.
yeah, when you see like dystopian movies about the future, there's never any books. Books are like commodities, like a Book of Eli type of thing. Like people
Yeah.
are gonna have to just like know stuff in their head.
Right.
You know?
It's gonna go back. We're
Yeah.
gonna cycle back. When everything we learned was just told to each other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we pass on all these things.
Yeah, like the griots.
So now, when both parents are professors, I imagine it'd be easy to rebel as well by going like, yeah, I'm not going to be an academic. Is that tempting?
Yeah, I mean, our generation was the first sort of generation to become adults and realize that what our parents did, what our parents thought about education in school and college in particular, might not be accurate. The idea that, my parents, especially being like black parents, all you had to do was go to college. Like that was the myth in the 50s and the 60s, man.
Yes.
If you could just go to college,
Yep.
you were guaranteed a good life, you were guaranteed a good job, you guaranteed a 401k.
Yeah.
And that sort of, that bubble burst when we became adults.
Yeah.
So we had the unfortunate job of telling our parents, look, your ideals may not be accurate for this generation.
Yeah.
And I might have to be an entrepreneur. I might have to do something different
Yeah.
than just work for somebody for my whole life to just end up in debt. I'm already in debt because I went to college. Yeah.
And then I think that it's only gotten truer post our generation. Zuckerberg and all these people, they've dropped out, or other huge entrepreneurs have left.
And it
One
makes
of
it-
these guys is even touring suggesting people drop out of college. I forget which one. Like,
As much as I appreciate it because it's my life story,
Yeah.
it's dangerous. And me having children who are now becoming adults, that's a scary thought. Like my conversation with my son in Oakland, like I'm glad they're in Oakland. I let him rap on the stage, but you need to fly back home and get a fucking job.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And it was like it was a difficult thing for me to be in that position to tell my son, you have to go work for somebody.
well, compounded heavily by the fact that their father didn't do that. Like I was reading a book about it was in a Malcolm Gladwell book, and it kind of talked about to what degree money does make your life better or easier, right? And then what they found is that it caps out at around like at least the time of this book, 175 grand. Anything past that, it's going to plateau for a while, and then it's going to start going down. Actually, like how what the children are going to turn out like. And one of the theories is it's really easy for parents to say, no, I can't buy you that bike because I can't afford that bike. That's easy to say. To say, I could buy you that bike, but I'm not going to buy you that bike because it'd be bad for your character is almost impossible for parents to say.
Yeah, there's definitely levels. I've heard stories about James Brown where they say that James Brown didn't have a relationship with any of his children because his childhood was so hard growing up. He didn't want people to be able to lean on his name for their success. He really was focused on almost to a fault.
Well, that's the song "Boy Named Sue." You know that song, Johnny Cash song. It's really a Shel Silverstein poem.
Okay.
But his dad leaves him and his mom when he's young, and what he does before he leaves, he names his son Sue because he knows that'll make him tough. Since he's not going to be around to make him tough, this name Sue will get him there.
Oh, that's a good, good songwriting concept.
Now, in Brooklyn, where you grew up, and I would just be fully speculating, but even when I tell my story now out in public,
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a suburb of Detroit, and it was probably the last town where half the town still drove to Detroit and worked there, and then just to the west of us became farmland.
Okay.
So it was a weird mix of straight up kids got on my school bus with shit all over their boots because they had shoveled out the barn that morning, and then there were kids whose parents were engineers at General Motors and Ford.
Right.
So it was this weird mix. But when I'm telling my life story, I'm focusing on the part that we lived in a welfare apartment when my mom first left my dad. I guess it's this, I can't avoid this a bootstrap story. Like it's a better story, right? I skipped the part where my mom built this great company and we lived in a pretty damn nice house by the time I was a senior. And I also was really drawn to, for lack of a better word, the bad kids. Like I wanted to be in a neighborhood where there was no curfew. I was drawn to that. And so I wanted to be that in a weird way where I ended up downplaying, that we did live in a nice house. There's these weird kind of social barriers where to me that you kind of hide certain stuff. So I'm curious, having super educated parents in Brooklyn, hanging around in Brooklyn, was that something you tried to downplay or did you embrace it?
That is an excellent question. There's a lot of layers to that question, and you're also being honest about your upbringing. In asking the question. A recent thing that's happened to me on social media is, you've seen me on social media.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, but this stems a little bit from some of the arguments I've seen you have, and I've seen people attack you. And one of the attacks is like, "What the fuck do you know?" Because your parents were professors.
Right. So there's a lot of layers to it. One first is that a lot of racist people in this country associate education with rich and white.
Yes.
So if you're an educated black person and you carry yourself as if you've received a high level of education, somehow in these people's eyes you're less black, and you have less
in the black community's eyes.
I'm in the black in every community.
I guess white people too.
Yeah, because it's not black people who are attacking me for my upbringing. It's white supremacists mostly who are attacking me for my upbringing.
Oh, okay.
Because they're like, why are you standing up for black people? You went to boarding school. Your parents are professors.
Okay.
One, the idea that professors are rich is a completely flawed idea.
Sure.
Most
especially
teachers,
in New York City, where
absolutely,
it's
like
expensive as hell.
there's a small number of professors that might make more than $100,000. But right now, today, the only reason I know this is because I've had to look it up to bolster my argument. You know what I'm saying? The average salary for a professor of any school, whether it's a city college or Ivy League, right now is $98,000. Now, when you take a professor who's working at an inner city college or, like in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, or Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, like my father worked at College of New Rochelle on Fulton Street in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, when I was growing up. My mother to this day works at Medgar Evers College in Crown Heights.
Yeah.
These are some of the poorest neighborhoods in the city.
Yeah.
These are city colleges. These are not rich institutions.
Yeah.
And so you take that average number of 98, you have to cut that in half. And then the fact that these are black institutions, you have to cut that even half even more.
Yeah.
And then when you take it back to the fact that I'm talking about 1975 to 1985, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
So one is the idea that professors are rich. That's just a lie.
Yeah.
Secondly, the idea that somehow Park Slope, Brooklyn, has always been the neighborhood where Maggie Gyllenhaal lives. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not always been that neighborhood.
Right.
You know,
it's been gentrified heavily.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
When I grew up in Park Slope, it wasn't the Park Slope of nowadays. It wasn't.
Right. Well, nor was New York in general.
New York
right?
in general, and
Yeah.
obviously there are neighborhoods in Brooklyn that are far worse, such as Crown Heights and Bed-Stuy are worse than Park Slope. But it was never this place where rich people lived. And
Yeah.
now, what I will say is we have to acknowledge our privileges.
Yeah.
I am more privileged to grow up in Park Slope than a black kid who grew up in Brownsville.
Yeah.
I have educational privilege.
Yeah.
I've inherited educational privilege of being born in a house full of professors.
Yeah.
Most people are not. Well, 50 Cent raps about he was born in a house of drug dealers.
Yes.
So it informed his content, informed who he was as an individual.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Armchair is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Monica, don't you find it to be intimidating finding someone who's actually great?
Yeah, I find them to be few and far between.
Yes, and what do? You just go hang out at the coffee shop and see who looks studious or meticulous?
I don't think that's a good idea.
It's not, and you either have to pray for a bolt of lightning of good luck to hit you, right? So I went and did someone's podcast. I look over, this guy Rob seems to really have it together, and then I just stole Rob for this podcast. And then similarly, I noticed how brilliant you were at writing for Kristen, and then I just stole you from her. But that's no way to grow a business.
Thievery.
Yeah, how many more people can I steal from others? So I really recommend ZipRecruiter. They do a tremendous job of pairing you with a very qualified candidate. It is a very quick process. ZipRecruiter has revolutionized hiring. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter's technology learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. That's why 80% of employees who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. And that's what makes ZipRecruiter the smartest way to hire. ZipRecruiter is a sponsor of Armchair Expert, and now listeners can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Dax. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Dax. Once again, ZipRecruiter.com/Dax. Our show is also brought to you by MeUndies. MeUndies. Pretty good. That needs a little work, but
Yeah, we'll work on it.
I really like coming up with jingles for MeUndies because I'm just so giddy and happy when I'm in MeUndies.
They're so comfortable.
But new MeUndies just arrived for you and I
Yes.
this week. I've got a really elegant purple pair.
Your
of
purple
trunks.
is beautiful.
Yeah, but I'm feeling yours the most.
You like mine?
Oh my goodness, so summery and playful.
Bright.
Bright. What are the icons on them?
It's kind of like a colorful.
Is it a fruit salad?
It's
a
like
fruit salad?
splotches of color. It's very nice.
Yeah, very exciting, very vibrant. I can only imagine that if one of your suitors saw those, they would just think, good times ahead. This is one of the products that Monica and I we speak from the bottom of the heart. We love our MeUndies.
You couldn't even believe how soft they are.
No, you won't believe it. When you put them on, you'll think,
Yeah.
what kind of voodoo's happening on my privates and buttocks and hips?
And what is it?
They're made from sustainable sourced beechwood trees, and the fabric will not sag down or ride up. And guys, for me, the ride up is the thing that I just can't tolerate. Life's too short. I absolutely love them. Still not sure? Well, MeUndies has a deal for you, my listeners. Armchair's first-time purchase gets 20% off their first pair of MeUndies and free shipping. To get your 20% off your first pair, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/DAX. That's MeUndies.com/DAX. There is, right, in the hip-hop music world, there is that's a commodity, or it has been a commodity.
Like street cred.
Yeah, street cred. Well, certainly suburban white kids are drawn to the danger of that whole world.
Absolutely.
It's so exotic. So then it's obviously inflated and characterized by a lot of the singers, right?
Well, just like you said, you were drawn to certain dangerous elements
Yeah.
because of how you grew up. So was I.
Yeah.
And
I want to be in the Hell's Angels.
Yeah, so
You know?
even
I'm like,
tough
what?
guy. But my parents changed their situation. We grew up in a railroad apartment. I lived in a room with my brother. We had bunk beds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by the time I was in high school, my parents bought their first house. And then my parents were so focused on education. When I was failing out of Brooklyn Tech, they put all their money into sending me to boarding school. And to be honest with you, and I don't really speak about this as often, but it broke them. It broke their finances. It broke up their marriage. It was a tough situation.
Really?
You know, I really, really thank my parents for taking me out of the inner city school system and doing everything they could to put me in boarding school, change my life around. I probably would have been in jail right now.
Yeah. And what, you went to a boarding school in Connecticut?
I did. Me and James Vanderbeek went to the same school.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Really?
Cheshire Academy.
The Beak. Were you friends?
We were.
Really?
He acted in the first play that I wrote.
Get out of here. This is very exciting. This is like finding out that Jada Pinkett Smith and
Tupac.
Were friends in
Like,
school.
who's the Jada Pinkett Smith in this relationship?
James Vanderbeek, I think.
I'm Tupac.
Yeah. So you leave Brooklyn and you go to a boarding school. And what grade is this?
This is 10th grade.
Okay. So yeah, that's for